Hello, everybody. It's good to be back, man. Well, since the announcement of Witcher 4, I figured it's time to go over the Witcher series. It has been a while since I've played these games, and I figured they're due for a replay. The Witcher games are based on a series of fantasy books popular in Poland by Andrzej Sapkowski, and they revolve around a character named Geralt of Rivia, who is a Witcher. Now, what are Witchers? Well, they're genetically modified humans that are given supernatural abilities to make fighting monsters their specialty. The games act as a non-canonical sequel to the books, and you'll be playing as Geralt as he tries to battle monsters, deal with political squabbles, as well as a potential end-of-the-world scenario that gets built up throughout the series. In many respects, it kind of feels similar to Game of Thrones, though it has a more singular focus by focusing on one character rather than just like a whole series of characters like in Game of Thrones. In the first game, Geralt wakes up after being killed and now has no memory of who he was. As he gets his bearings around the HQ for the Witchers, also known as Kaer Morhen, a mysterious group attacks the base and tries to steal the equipment that helps create the Witchers. Now, as Geralt, you set out to find that group known as Salamandra and take them down. But things are never that simple, as this gets you embroiled in all sorts of trouble, like a conflict between a religious order and a rebellious group of elves and dwarves, a child with magical abilities, and a village of people being harassed by ghost dogs, just to name a few. Now, I'll come and say it, I've never read the books, so whether these games are true to spirit or accurate to the books, I can't really answer. But with the amnesia plotline given to Geralt, it makes it easy for someone like me to slip into the story as Geralt himself, as he's trying to figure out the world around him, as well as his relationships with other characters. Early on, the plot itself can be a little hard to follow, since you're juggling between your own quest and dealing with other matters that need attention, which at first seems like it has nothing to do with your main mission. But by the end of the game, everything ties together very nicely, like an interconnected web, and sets the stage for what will come in future games. There are also quite a few surprises that I won't reveal, and it's probably best to experience it for yourself. Geralt of Rivia himself has a cool look to him, with the long white hair and the badass demeanor, which made him stand out from other fantasy characters. Geralt himself has a great balance of having a stoic yet sarcastic personality, while having you, the player, input how you want the character to be. While playing as him, you'll be asked to make decisions in the story that can have ramifications, which you only realize later. And unlike games like Fallout 3, where there is clearly a morally good or a bad choice, in the Witcher games, most of the choices are morally gray. And as the game would say, it's all about choosing the lesser of two evils. This could definitely make choosing decisions very tough, but that's what's kind of awesome in this game, is having you, the player, wrestle with the decisions you have to make. You can play Geralt in a way that suits you, even to a point where you can be, popular with the ladies. Many of the side mission storylines are very well fleshed out and range in tone from creepy, disturbing, to quirky. Without going into too much detail, there is one mission in particular where you come across a monster, and your natural instincts as a monster hunter is to, well, hunt monsters. But the monster starts talking to you, and now you're kind of at an interesting part of the game where you have to decide whether to let that monster live or let it die. Quests like that really give this game a lot of interesting character to it. The locales in the game that you visit have a good variety to them, with the slums, the rich district of the city, and various villages and the swamp. You'll be going to them often, and by the end you'll get very familiar with each locale. As for the gameplay, it plays like other RPGs out there, where you can partake in the quests, engage in a lot of combat scenarios, as well as talking to various NPCs, where you can buy items, persuade them to give you information, or you can take part in the various side activities, which include dice poker and fist fighting. Dice poker in particular is pretty fun, though fist fighting I find to be a bit too easy, as you can very easily win by timing your punches right and rarely blocking. The side quests, as I mentioned, range from typical story-based quests to Witcher contracts, which are as simple as kill a number of a particular monster, and bring the evidence back for money. They are well varied and they don't get too tiresome, especially when you're on your way to a main story mission and you're killing those type of monsters while you're on your way there. Combat is very much the black sheep of the Witcher trilogy. While the latter ones would take a more action-based approach, the first Witcher game plays like an MMO mixed with a rhythm-based game. It works in a similar way to an MMO, where it does some of the attacks automatically, but if you click the button at the right time, you'll perform a more powerful attack. Now, as someone that doesn't get into MMO-style combat, I think this system works pretty well, even if it's a bit clunky at times to line up the cursor with the right enemy. And I will suggest, for a first-time playthrough, play from an isometric view to get a more optimal view of your surroundings. The other aspect of the game I really like, and this would be a feature for the rest of the trilogy, is the preparation process. This is a game where preparing for combat is very important and very involved. You can read books which will help you in identifying the different herbs you collect, or getting more information on monsters, which will then be saved in the monsters section, where you can review their weaknesses, what kind of oil to coat your blade in order to make the monsters go down faster, or what attack style or type of sword is more effective against them. You can concoct different types of potions by combining various herbs you collect along with strong alcohol. These potions are really useful, and they give you an edge in combat with effects ranging from faster reflexes, raising attack efficiency, or giving you regenerating health or endurance, with the latter being very useful if you plan to use the signs. Now, what are signs? Well, they're magical abilities that you as a Witcher can use to help in various situations, with abilities that range from a force push called Ard, shooting fire from your hand with Igni, laying a trap with Yurdrin, possessing people with Axii, and putting up a protective shield with Quen. They can be great to have, especially when you're up against overwhelming odds, and you need to use them to take the enemies down quickly, or to give you some breathing room, like with Quen. There are certain aspects of the game that I do find rather annoying. The inventory system itself has some arbitrary restrictions to it, particularly with weapons. Say you want to carry another steel sword that you find in the world to sell later, and all your weapon slots are filled. You can't exactly store it in your inventory like some of the other items. So you would either have to lose your current sword, or just leave it behind, which makes looting weapons kinda pointless. There's also a heck of a lot of backtracking, with some getting pretty lengthy, and with enemies that can also get in your way, that can make doing missions very tedious when you have to go all the way back from the swamp back to the city of Vizima. It can get to a point where I would just run by enemies in order to get back to the mission giver very quickly. I will say, if you love RPGs, The Witcher 1 is very good in terms of how you want to upgrade your character, and there's not really a wrong way to play it. I leveled up my character mainly with swordplay, but you could build your Geralt to have more of a focus on your sign abilities if you prefer. While it's rough around the edges, it's a game that is still very fun to play, with the complex and rewarding role-playing, and a solid narrative with a great connective web. If you want to get started on the Witcher series and are a fan of RPGs, it's worth a shot. While The Witcher 1 I think is a solid start to the trilogy, it gets even better from there.